All staff and students active shooter ability. He is at the bathrooms at the West Wing, just outside by the trophy cases. Active shooter ability, West Wing, by the bathrooms.
Officials from across southeast Iowa spent much of Wednesday training for the worst possible scenario they could encounter, an active shooter with victims in a school. Dozens of agencies took part in the training exercise this morning at the Eddyville-Blakesburg-Fremont Junior-Senior High School. They were doing anything from playing the shooter to evaluating those taking part in the exercise. Around 40 participants played victims and students, some with paint and makeup portraying very serious injuries. Sheriff deputies from Wapello and Mahaska counties rushed into the school minutes after real gunfire was heard coming from the halls. Wapello County Sheriff Deputy Aaron McConnell was the first through the door and described his experiences.
I guess the first thing, so when I arrived on scene, there's students running out screaming, advising that there's a shooter inside the building. As law enforcement, we know the main priority is get inside and stop the threat. By the time I made it into the door, again, there's students screaming. We hear a lot of yelling. Shortly after I made it through the door, Mahaska County arrived on scene, and they were there throughout the whole thing. So.
The purpose of the exercise was to evaluate the participants' actions and compare those to response plans and standards. Wapello County Sheriff Mark Miller says that the exercise was a resounding success.
I think it's been a success. I mean, we got to insert some realism into an incident like this, and I think we haven't sat down and figured out all the nuts and bolts and what we'll specifically correct next time, but I mean, I do think it truly was a success today.
But law enforcement wasn't the only group that was being tested on Wednesday. The Eddyville Volunteer Fire Department, Ormix, the Mahaska Health Ambulance, and Lifelight Air Ambulance all took part in the exercise as well. Members of the Ottumwa Fire Department were also on hand. Participants were given very little information before the exercise began. Instead, they had to rely on dispatchers to give them information on where the shooter was in the school and the locations of wounded students. There was one vital piece of information that planners deliberately kept from participants and the media. There was a second shooter. Not long after police took down the first shooter, shots again rang out from another area of the school. Deputies sprang back into action, clearing the school again, and successfully arrested the second shooter. The exercise was put on jointly by the Mahaska and Wapello County Emergency Management Agencies, the Appanoose-Davis-Lucas-Monroe County Emergency Management Agency, the Mahaska and Wapello County Sheriff's Departments, and the Eddyville-Blakesburg-Fremont Junior-Senior High School. The groups worked for more than a year to plan for the full-scale exercise. For Ottumwa Radio News, I'm Nick Davis.